Good morning, everyone. Good morning. The time for convening has arrived. The Senate will come to order. At this time, I will ask all unauthorized personnel to exit the chamber. Recognize the senator from the 6th. Reading of the journal.
Good morning, Mr. President. Great to see you today. Glad you're here today. We don't have much going on today, but we do have a great list of pages. Fine young men and women from all over this state have joined us today to do the people's business here in the Georgia State Senate. Out of Decatur, we got Andrew Turner. Out of Scottdale, we have Alaric Watkins. Out of Marietta, William Bagwell. Out of McDonough, we have Mackenzie Black. Also out of McDonough, we have Gabriel Bridgman. Out of Peachtree Corners, we have Everin Delane. Out of McDonough, we have Sophia Dewing. Out of McDonough, we have Arthur Duke. Out of Cumming, we have Nagasai Sahidhar Duvrapu. Out of Stockbridge, we have Elijah Hill. Out of Locust Grove, we have Kiara Jackson Ware. Out of Hampton, we have Blessing Quazima. Out of Griffin, we have Miles Lacey. Out of Milledgeville, we have Danica Risha. Out of Loganville, Chloe Rodriguez. Out of Locust Grove, Jake Wallace. Out of Milledgeville, Briley Welling. Out of Marietta, Caden Rogers. And out of Cumming, we have an Eagle Scout, Scotty Ferber. Y'all give our pages a big round of applause.
Risha's an Eagle Scout, too.
And Risha's an Eagle Scout as well. We have 2 Eagle Scouts here today. That's a big deal, y'all. First female Eagle Scout, as I'm told by the great senator from the 25th. Mr. President, this journal has been read and found to be correct.
All right, Senator, appreciate that. Good job on pronouncing all those names. I hope you did it correctly. There was a couple that sounded like you stumbled through. But we are glad to have all the pages here today and appreciate everybody who comes down here and volunteers their time. We greatly appreciate you. Is there objection to dispensing of the reading of the journal? Chair hears none, and the reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. First reading and references to Senate bills and resolutions. Secretary?
Senate Bill 87 by Senator Setzler of the 37th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 13 of Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated related
Judiciary.
to Senate Bill 88 by Senator Bearden of the 30th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 15-2-6 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 89 by Senator Strickland of the 42nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the Official
Finance.
Senate Bill 90 by Senator Tillery, the 19th, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 19 of Title 15 and Article 1 of Chapter 17 of Title 45 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated related to regulation of the practice of law and general provisions regarding notaries public, respectively, so as to provide for the modernization of certain legal, notarial, and court services using electronic. Senate Bill 91 by Senator Tillery, the 19th, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 1.
Insurance and labor.
Senate Bill 92 by Senator Merritt of the 9th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 4, Chapter 11 of Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated related to
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 93 by Senator Kemp of the 38th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 20-2-
Education to youth.
Senate Bill 94 by Senator Huffstetler of the 52nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 46 of the Official Code of Georgia.
Regulated industries.
Senate Bill 95 by Senator Watson of the 1st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 31-6-47 of the Official
Health
Code
and
of
Human Services.
Senate Bill 96 by Senator Eccles of the 49th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend various titles of the Official Code of Georgia annotated so as to modernize and update provisions creating certain
Government
boards.
oversight.
Senate Bill 97 by Senator Setzler of the 37th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 16-11-62 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated related to eavesdropping, surveillance, or interception communication which invades privacy of another and divulging private messages so as to provide for limitations regarding the use of electronic monitoring devices, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes.
Judiciary.
Senate Resolution 123 by Senator Islam Parks of the 7th and others, a resolution affirming birthright citizenship as a constitutional right and for other purposes.
Judiciary.
Senate Resolution 131 by Senator Summers of the 13th and others, a resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the State of Georgia.
Regulated industries.
Mr. President, that completes the order.
Secretary Reed reports of Standing Committee.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Children and Families has under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 8 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Education and Youth has under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 22 do pass. Senate Bill 44 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Hickman of the 4th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor has under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 35 do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 39 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Walker of the 20th District Chairman. Dear Mr. Secretary, pursuant to Senate Rule 2-1.6, I hereby give notice that I will introduce a minority report to be read along with the majority report of Senate Bill 39, which Insurance and Labor passed out on Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. Sincerely, Senator Merritt of the 9th. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Regulated Industries and Utilities is under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 13 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Cowser to the 46th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Retirement has under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 23 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Williams of the 25th District Chairman. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Secretary Reed bills for the second time.
Senate Bill 6 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd and others, controlled substances, determine whether a controlled substance has been adulterated, authorize the use of testing equipment. Mr. President, that completes the order.
It is now time for the morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Recognize the Senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. As always, it's a pleasure to talk with you. I just ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 10th for business outside the Capitol.
Senator from the 10th is missing a few days right now. I mean, has he got something else on his mind right now? Without objection, the senator from the 10th is excused. I recognize also, the good senator, the podcast star himself, CNN's next new hire, senator from the 14th.
Thank you so much for those kind words, Mr. Lieutenant Governor. I'm just here to ask unanimous consent that the senators from the 26th and 41st be excused for business somewhere.
All right. I can't wait for the new channel. Without objection, the senators from the 26th and the 41st are excused. Any other motions to excuse? Without objection, the Secretary will call the roll. Senators, please signify by voting the yay switch. Secretary, unlock the machine. It is now time. Turn down a little bit. You got it. Okay. That was a little loud. It is now time for the morning devotion. All senators, please take your seats and cease all conversations. I would ask that the doorkeepers secure the chamber at this time. I now recognize the good senator from the 44th to introduce our chaplain of the day and lead us in our pledge. Senator?
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Georgia flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and to the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, moderation, courage. I have a real treat for all of us this morning. I have one of the priests from my church, which is All Saints Episcopal Church in Midtown, Reverend Naomi Tutu. She is joined by her sister Tondi, so we're very honored to have you too, Tondi. The name may sound familiar because Reverend Tutu is the third child of famed South African Anglican Archbishop Desmond Tutu and his wife Nomalizo. She was born in South Africa and had the opportunity to live in many communities and countries. She was educated in Swaziland, the United States, and England, and has divided her adult life between South Africa and the United States. Growing up the daughter of someone so famous in the religious context offered Reverend Tutu many opportunities, but also some challenges in her life. One of the greatest challenges was her struggle for much of her adult life with the call to the ministry that was tugging at her. Because for a lot of her life, she said, look, I got my dad's nose and I don't want his job. But the call to preach and serve as an ordained clergy person continued to tug at her. The challenges of growing up Black and female in apartheid South Africa have been the foundation for Naomi's life as an activist for human rights. Finally, when she was in her 50s, she responded to the call and went to seminary and became an Episcopalian priest. Reverend Tutu.
Good morning. I would ask you to take a posture of reverence, whatever that means for you, whether it is bowing your head, lifting your hands, but whatever signifies for you a posture of reverence. Mother, Father God, we come before you today as we come before you every day, knowing that what is in our hearts, what is on our minds, you already know. You know what it is that we are afraid of. You know what it is that we hope for. You know what gives us joy and what makes us angry. And yet, dear Lord, you taught us to give word, to speak our pleas and our thanksgivings out loud. And so we gather, giving you thanks for the opportunity to gather as your people, created in your divine image. We give thanks for the opportunity to consider how it is we might best serve you and our fellow human beings. We gather giving thanks for all the opportunities we have to be amongst others made in your image who might not look like us, who might not speak like us, who might not even think like us, but knowing that within them lives your divine spirit. We ask you, Mother, to remind us today and always of our connection one to the other, to remind us always that a solitary human being is a contradiction in terms, to remind us always that there is no such thing as a self-made human being, that we acknowledge all those who have lifted us on our journeys, our parents, our teachers, our friends, those who believed in us even when we did not believe in ourselves. We ask you, Father, to remind us that our Lord and Savior, after living, after preaching, after healing, after raising people from the dead, did not say to us, "A new commandment I give you, that you bow down before me 6 times a day," but rather said, "A new commandment I give you, that you love one another as I have loved you." We ask in particular, Lord, that you bless those gathered here who have in their hands the right and the ability to govern the lives of the people of this wonderful state. Remind them, Lord, that this is a calling, this is a vocation, this is a ministry, and that they are challenged and called to be those who elevate the care and concern for all of the people of this state. Make them both resolute and humble in their work. Remind them that they are most powerful and therefore most responsible. Bless them as they go about their duties. Remind them that they are yours, made in your divine image. Amen.
if the I'm going to I'm gonna have to, if I get the Senate's attention real quick, please. If I get the Senate's attention real quick, Mr. Pro Tem, I'm on. If I could get the Senate's attention real quick, I've got to. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to be leaving here pretty soon. I've got a little invitation to Washington D.C. and I'm obviously excited about going to D.C. But I'm more excited about the fact that I'm going to get to be with the speaker today, and I'm going to get to tell him and educate him on everything we're going to do here in the Senate. So then the House can follow up and copy exactly what we're doing over here in the Senate. So I'm just glad to hear that. I look forward to their next press conference too. So, but y'all have a good day. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. Let the Senate come back to order, please. Senate, come back to order. It's my pleasure to introduce and call upon the senator from the 38th to introduce our doctor of the day.
Thank you, Mr. President. Starting to look good in this posture. I have the privilege once again, we're starting to trend here to introduce the doctor of the day from the great Senate District 38. Dr. Gleason is a board-certified orthopedic surgeon based in Atlanta, Georgia, affiliated with Resurgence Orthopedics. He earned his MD from Louisiana State University and completed his residency in orthopedic surgery at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. With extensive leadership experience, he has served as co-president, vice president, and compliance officer at Resurgence Orthopedics. He has also held roles as managing partner at multiple medical organizations and served in various leadership roles throughout his career. Additionally, Dr. Gleason is an active member of multiple professional societies, including the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgery, the Georgia Orthopedic Society, and the Medical Association for Georgia. In addition to that, I've learned that he serves a great role as the doctor of the senator from the 32nd, and he just recently retired in December. So congratulations and happy retirement, everyone, Dr. Gleason.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for allowing MAG to provide you with a Doctor of the Day. It's our privilege to serve you. And physicians and elected officials, we all have a common bond. We actually answered the call to serve. And answering the call to serve is very important. Physicians serve their patients and their communities. You serve your constituents in the state of Georgia. I want to thank y'all for answering the call. I appreciate it. Go Tigers.
You've got one friend in here for sure. We've already done the chaplain of the day. All right, good morning. Let's come to order again. We've got some special guests with us today. The secretary will read a resolution.
Senate Resolution 47 by Senator Watson of the 1st and others, a resolution recognizing February 5th, 2025 as Physicians' Day at the state capitol and saluting the physicians of Georgia and for other purposes. Whereas the relationship between a patient and a physician is based on trust, giving rise to physicians' ethical responsibility to place patients' welfare above their own self-interest or obligations to others, to use sound medical judgment on behalf of their patients, and to advocate for their patients' welfare. And whereas as of 2023, there are 27,750 physicians in Georgia who are trusted leaders with a positive and lasting impact on the health of their patients and the overall well-being of their communities. And whereas the Georgia legislature has fostered one of the strongest practice environments in the country for both patients and physicians, now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body join in recognizing February 5th, 2025 as Physicians' Day at the state capitol and saluting the physicians of Georgia. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. I'd now like to call upon our friend and the distinguished senator from the 1st for some introductions of our special guest.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm here today relating to Physicians' Day here at the Capitol. Thank you so much. We have over 250 physicians today, and if you listened at all to the proclamation, is that we have 27,000 physicians in the state of Georgia. So we have almost 1% of all the physicians here at this Capitol today. So I would first of all like to get the physicians and all the white coats there in the gallery to stand up, and let's welcome you to Doctor's Day. Welcome you to the Senate. Thank you. And I see up there a distinguished congressman, Dr. Phil Gingrey. Thank you for being here. Behind me, though, obviously Dr. Kirkpatrick is here as a physician here in the Senate, but I have Jay Smith, who is a well-recognized figure here around the Capitol. And just a little bit about Jay. He is here. He did undergraduate at the Georgia Institute of Technology, also known as Georgia Tech, went to MCG, and then Harvard Emergency Medicine residency. And then Dr. Brett Cannon is also here. He also has several degrees, JD from Syracuse, MBA from UGA, Emergency Medicine at Emory, and undergrad and MD at Chapel Hill. And then all three of these physicians are emergency room physicians, emergency medicine, and Dr. Debbie Dalton is the president of MAG this year, and we're certainly happy to have her. She has several degrees also. She has recently been the CMO at Wellstar Paulding, been medical director of the Pediatric Emergency Department at Wellstar Cobb and Wellstar Paulding. She is also an MD, and also she reminded me that she is a pharmacist by degree also. So I'd like to have her say a few words for Physicians of the Day.
Good morning to the Senate Good morning to all my friends. I'm Debbie Dalton. I am a pediatric emergency physician, currently serving as a CMO. But I wanted to thank you all for everything that you have done in the past for the House of Medicine, everything you're going to do today and during this session, and everything in the future, just to make Georgia the best state to practice medicine in and to keep the citizens and the patients of Georgia safe. Thank you.
All right, good morning again. Are there any unanimous consents? Chair hears none. Then we're going to move on to points of personal privilege. Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Chair recognizes the senator from the 20th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, Senators. It's a great day to be a Georgian. Good day to be here. I'm very excited. I think we have in the gallery some students from my district in Houston County from Veterans High School. They are taking a government AP class, and they're here to visit with us today at the Capitol. I want to welcome them, and I would ask them, if they're in the gallery, to please stand. Good to see you all. Welcome. I look forward to being with you later in the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Excellent call out there for some good folks from Middle Georgia. Glad to see y'all. The chair recognizes the senator from the 14th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. I am the senator from the 14th, and this is Trump Morning News. Trump Morning News, your number one leader in Trump news entertainment, keeping you reminded about the health of your democracy. This week in Trump Morning News, continuous personnel actions of unprecedented scope are occurring in the federal government, with the CIA largely receiving, almost all of its members, a resignation offer in commensurate with Elon Musk's federal takeover, in which employees are offered a buyout in exchange for resigning their jobs. Some core spies are not affected, which means that Trump intends to keep at least some foreign policy alive. In other news, Trump's expansionist ambitions are back in focus, as President Trump suggested from the Oval Office that Canada be added to the United States as the 51st state of the Union. Reportedly, Canadian officials are opposed to this idea, with the ambassador coming out in what could be characterized as strong opposition. President Trump has also suggested within the last 24 hours that the United States, quote, take over Gaza after a horrible war involving tons of casualties and one of the worst human rights crises on the planet. He reportedly wants to replace whatever's in Gaza now with a Riviera. That is a quote. Netanyahu calls it a fresh idea, while other countries repeat their historic opposition to taking in Palestinian refugees from their homeland. Trump suggested that all Palestinians be evacuated from Gaza. Here with critical commentary on today's news, we have our special guest, the senator from the 14th. Senator from the 14th. So I just I'm trying to remember the campaign messaging. I believe that the vice president and Trump talked a lot about reducing our overseas footprint, not being imperialist and, bringing our boys home and men and women in armed services, and focusing on ourselves. But I think what's happened is that Trump has said he wants to either take over or buy Greenland. He's now saying he wants to turn Gaza into another Trump hotel, essentially. And he's basically ignoring the decades of pain and suffering that have occurred in the Middle East and imposing a public policy on that area that's even less wise than Jared Kushner's. It's a pretty remarkable sequence of events. Haven't even brought up the CIA yet, but I guess if you needed to ask what do the CIA and the Gaza takeover and Canada takeover have in common, we have a new foreign policy in the United States that is dumber and more hostile. And we will see where that gets us. Now, some of you may say, Trump needs to be taken figuratively, not literally. Maybe he's just joking around. My question for my colleagues is, does Canada like our jokes? Does Mexico think these jokes are funny? Increasingly, Canada, Mexico, and the rest of the world are unifying in solidarity around just how stupid and hostile America's decisions are, not just to the world's interests, but to its own interests. We do not have rational actors in charge, and every day that we keep allowing this to happen without raising our voices, both Democratic and Republican, this country slides 1 inch closer to idiocracy and fascism. Not an overstatement. Well, that's all the time we have for our special guest, and it's all the time we have for Trump Morning News. As always, we remind you, your state legislators, there's nothing you can do directly about this, and there is nothing the Republican Party could have done in the last 20 years to prevent this from happening. Thank you for your time. I yield the well.
All right, that's our morning entertainment, if that's what that was. But Senator from the 2nd, if you'd like to follow that, it's your turn for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. This morning I had to bring the news up I-16, and I don't have Trump morning news, but I do have news from my small business owners that happen to live in Chatham County and in the city of Savannah that depend on fabric, material, and other parcels that happen to come from China. Last night they received notification that there would be a suspension of all inbound parcels from China and Hong Kong. There was no advance notification that their products would be delayed. They have taken orders. I have a bridal business that basically had to email clients this morning that she was going to have to delay their wedding dresses because she will not receive the materials in time to complete the job. Now, this may not seem like a big issue to y'all, but this is about small business. And you can't plan and run a business when you don't know what is about to happen next. To receive an email from the United States Postal Service informing you that they will not have any more inbound parcels from China or Hong Kong, and you're a small business owner, you didn't have an opportunity to plan or prepare. And I am from a little rural city outside of Savannah, a little town called Pinpoint. It's a Gullah Geechee community. And my grandmother would say, year after year, you can shear a sheep year after year, but you can only skin his behind once. And so with all that's going on, if you start affecting small businesses, you have a moral obligation to say something, because when folks don't have an opportunity to plan and you start putting folks out of business because your policy is working for big corporations and not the small business owners, then we have a huge problem. And with that, Mr. President, I take this news back down to I-16 and I yield the well.
All right, the senator has yielded. Chair recognizes the distinguished senator from the 11th, who I think has some special guests with him today.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to lighten the mood a little bit. It's an honor for me today to have the 2025 Georgia Farmer of the Year, Kent Hamilton, who's over here on the wall, and his wife, Pam. Kent, raise your hand. This is extra special for me. Ken and his family operate Southern Valley Fruit and Vegetable. They grow about 5,500 acres of vegetables in Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, and the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico to supply Georgians and Americans with fresh vegetables year-round. And I actually worked for Kent for 10 years, and I learned the vegetable business from him, and I wouldn't be where I am today have it not been for Kent in Southern Valley and his mother, Miss Wanda, and all the family back home, his daughter and two sons. farms, all are part of that family operation. So it's just a great story, and honored that I had the privilege to work with him. And he taught me so much about the farm and about life, and that you always put God first. And we have to do that on the farm every single day. So honored to have him here, but also have real quick, Colquitt Regional Medical Center, my hospital folks, the board members are up there. Appreciate what they do back home. In Colquitt County, we grow a lot of vegetables, but we also grow a lot of doctors back home. So thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for letting me have this time.
Yes, sir, Senator. Great to have you all in the chamber with us this morning, and congratulations to our Farmer of the Year. Chair recognizes the senator from the 33rd for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President, my fellow senators, colleagues, friends, and y'all. Just a brief Black History moment. Kenneth Bancroft Clark, PhD, and Mamie Phillips Clark, PhD, are distinguished African-American psychologists whose Brown-Graken research led to the landmark Brown versus Board of Education decision in 1954. Kenneth and Mamie met and married while attending Howard University, where they both earned bachelor's and master's degree in the field of psychology. While working on her master's, Mamie nurtured an interest in developmental psychology, studying children at all Black nurseries. Fascinated by her findings, Kenneth joined her research, and the two began to work and study as a team. Between 1939 and 1940, the couple published 3 papers on children's self-perception in relation to race. In 1946, after becoming the first African Americans to earn doctorate degrees from Columbia University, the Clarks opened their own practice called the Northside Center for Child Development, where they continued to study children's attitude about race. Their work led to the illustrious doll experiments, which effectively exposed internalized racism and self-hatred that stemmed from school segregation. After the Supreme Court decision, the Clarks continued to use their skills and expertise to help everybody have a healthy self-esteem in America. Thank you so much. I yield the well, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Senators yielded the well. The chair recognizes our distinguished majority leader, the senator from the 51st.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. I want to continue to recognize people that are in the gallery, but also around the building. We have all these wonderful doctors here today, but we also have the hospitals here as well. Georgia Hospital Association has about 25 hospitals here today in the building. CEOs and CFOs are walking around the building talking to legislators about important things that impact rural hospitals. I hope you'll take the time to listen to them. There's a lot of concerns, not only in lawsuit reform, but other health care needs as well. So thank you for being here, all the hospital folks, the doctors that are in the building, and we look forward to a successful session with your help. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. You've yielded the well. Chair recognizes the senator from the 16th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate this morning. I want to do something. I want to highlight the role of Georgia farmers play in our state's economy. Agriculture is not just a sector. It is the backbone of our communities, providing jobs, sustaining local businesses, and contributing significantly to our state's GDP. Georgia is renowned in its diverse agricultural output, from peaches to peanuts to pecans, and these products are not only essential for our local consumption, but also for national and global markets. By supporting our farmers, we are investing in the livelihood of thousands of families, and we are also ensuring continued growth of our economy. Their hard work fuels our food supply, which I will remind you that 3% of the people provide food for 97% of the rest of us. Their hard work is fueled and supports our rural areas and our rural communities and strengthens them. However, we need to recognize something. They are challenged as never before, especially with back-to-back hurricanes. Our farming and agricultural communities are challenged as never before when you see what's going on. And it will not, and I say it will not happen overnight. We need to be very much aware of what's happening to us. And some of the most powerful things that have happened have been natural disasters. It's causing crop losses, damage to infrastructure. It's placing immense financial strain on our farmers, and it is critical that we rally around them during these trying times, offering our support through financial assistance, resources for recovery, and the community's solidarity. By doing so, we not only help our farmers rebuild, but also protect the economic stability of our state. We need to stand together and ensure that Georgia's agricultural community continues to thrive for the benefit of our citizens. Here's what I would say to you. We have a $16 billion surplus. We are giving back $1 billion in money to our taxpayers, but we must, and I encourage both this Senate and the House and the governor to look deeply at our farmers and our communities that bring the food to us, that they had back-to-back hurricanes, and insurance and other things are not going to help them to the degree that it needs to happen. We're talking about generations. We're talking about family farmers that their lives and livelihoods are threatened. And I would ask both this chamber and the chamber across the hall and our governor consider how critically important that is. I also want to do this morning. I have a special group here from Lamar County. It's Lamar County High School. They're CTAE. It is their technical part. They are here this morning visiting with us. From that standpoint, I don't know if they made it in, but they sent me a message there. They're going to be here for that portion. But I do think this. We cannot be asleep at the wheel with what's happened to our farming communities, and we need to stand up and we need to support them as they recover from 2 back-to-back hurricanes. And I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator, for those kind remarks. Chair recognizes the senator from the 48th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Folks, everyone in this chamber has a constituent, doctor or medical student in the hallway today, someone from their district who wants to practice medicine or is practicing medicine. I just spent the last half hour talking to as many as I could about what their issues were. And the number one issue they all said was tort reform and medical malpractice. That's what keeps them up at night. That's what terrifies them about how they can continue to do their job for the people of our state. I implore you to please listen to what they have to say on this very important issue. You have to let them explain to you the fear that they live in of what tort reform means and their ability to practice medicine. So speaking of medicine, on a little bit of a lighter note, we have some other dear friends with us today from all across the state from the Georgia Senior Living Association. They are the ones that take care of our elderly that are in memory care and assisted living all across Georgia. They serve over 43,000 vulnerable Georgians, and there are over 1,600 senior living facilities here in Georgia. I know they're trying to file into the top. It's kind of full up there in the gallery. Do we have any folks from the Georgia Senior Living Association up there? They are still in the hallway. But please be sure to visit with them, and we will be in room 230 upon adjournment. So I hope you can drop in and say hey to them. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the will.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from the 31st for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to be very brief. I do want to thank our colleague from the 14th with the morning news. Some may think it's funny. I actually don't think it's funny. And yes, presidential elections happen, things change. I know the minority party would say the shoe's on the other foot, but let's not forget, our president's been in office for 15 days. Your president's had 4 years to figure out the cartels and secure the border in Mexico. Had 4 years to address and stand up to China and the inflation and what Americans were facing. So if we're going to have a conversation, the conversation is going to be about, what do you stand for? Do you stand for America? Do you stand for America leading the world? That's what this conversation's about. That's the change in Washington. That's the change in the state capitol and across Georgia and what voters voted for. I don't stand for the provocation of China threatening Taiwan. I don't stand for Russia flying airplanes over Alaska. And at the end of the day, in terms of the federal government, we can go back 20, 30 years. This federal government is bigger than anything any of us have seen in our lifetime. The Department of Education is still failing our kids. Our kids can't read. As a senator from the 4th comes down here every single day, every single week, every single month, every single year and telling us we got to do better because we got to have leaders who are going to stand up for our kids at the end of the day. So my question to the minority party is, we can joke, we can have fun, we can banter back and forth, and I consider the senator from 14th a friend. And I get where he's coming from, and he's it's fair. But it's also fair to talk about the cartels that are killing their own people in Mexico and killing people in America. The banditos, the gangsters in Venezuela. The reason why we had to pass a Laken Riley Act. Everybody's got a short memory until it hits their pocketbook. And until we disrupt China, Turkey funding Iran, and our friends in Israel, we can keep making jokes. But as the jokes continue to take lives and cost the citizens we represent their hard-working paycheck, and seeing their taxes go up because of inflation and the policies of the last 4 years that we are going to fix, that's the morning news. That's the evening news. And that's what every Georgian rises every morning out of their bed and thinks about. And when they put their kids to sleep at night, worrying about what they got to do the next day when the teacher goes to school or the dad or guardian has to go to work to run a truck down the road to pay for the last 4 years. So, Mr. President, I just ask that this body think about, what does Georgia stand for and what does America stand for? I yield the well.
Thank you. The senator has yielded the well. The chair recognizes the distinguished senator from Columbus, senator from the 29th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I come before you today and just want to speak to you briefly. Everybody knows me in this chamber. Everybody knows who I am, and everybody knows what my identity is. Everybody knows that for 30 years, I served in the most incredible profession that God ever allowed to be created on this planet. I proudly served as a law enforcement officer for 31 years. I served with tens of thousands of other law enforcement officers. I've been the leader of organizations that represent thousands of officers here in the state of Georgia and hundreds of thousands of officers throughout the United States of America. As I sat in my office the other day, finishing up some paperwork before I came over here, I heard a word over the screen of my office from this chamber that we hear a lot from people when they're losing a fight. And the word I heard was hypocrisy. And what they were doing was talking about the hypocrisy of our current president pardoning individuals who displayed violence toward law enforcement officers at the Capitol on January 6th. Every law enforcement group that I'm involved in communicated their dislike of that happening. Nobody sat on their hands and watched it go by. But what I find amazing is I did not hear that same person or anybody from the other party have any disdain when former President Joe Biden commuted the sentence of a man who murdered 2 FBI agents while they were on their knees. I didn't hear any disdain or cries of hypocrisy when former President Joe Biden commuted the sentence of a murdering drug dealer from New York and many, many others, many other violent individuals. No, what you did is you sat on your hands and closed your mouths, because that is the true definition of hypocrisy, is only talk about those things that impact you. But I see you and I hear you and I need a favor. A few years ago, you were wanting to defund police. A few years ago, a law enforcement officer couldn't get out of their vehicle without being chastised or indicted in Fulton County. A few years ago, an officer couldn't help anybody without somebody screaming for that officer to be stripped of his or her qualified immunity. So do me a favor during this session, when we recognize law enforcement officers, please don't stand up and act like you care. When law enforcement officers are injured or hurt in the line of duty, please don't come up here and give us your thoughts and your prayers and your concerns. I respect you for being who you are. So be who you are, and I'm going to be who I am. I will be a voice for every man, woman that wears a badge in the state of Georgia and in the United States of America. I will be an advocate for every law enforcement spouse and child in the United States of America. And I will stand up for them each and every day. So let me tell you, I see you, I hear you, I got this. We don't need your Hippocratic health. Because I see you, I hear you, we know who you are. And law enforcement, men and women, don't matter to you. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Senator has yielded the well. The chair recognizes the senator from the 7th for a point of personal privilege.
President Donald Trump has been in office for about 2 weeks, and he's already made a whole lot of trouble, including his comments yesterday about talking about ethnically cleansing Gaza. He mentioned it would be the Riviera of the Middle East. That's insane, guys. He wants to ethnically cleanse, displace 1.8 million Palestinians to do whatever landscaping he wants to do in Gaza for his own benefits. This is against international law. It is inhumane. And I don't remember anyone talking about colonizing Gaza as a priority for Republicans. I mean, this is ridiculous. What are we going to do, send more American troops to the Middle East? This doesn't sound like America first, y'all. I condemn Donald Trump's actions and words, and we need to let the Palestinians live in peace. Gaza belongs to them. I yield the well.
Senator has yielded the well. The chair recognizes the senator from the 38th. Senator from the 38th, are you with us? Senator from the 38th, going once, twice. All right, the senator's not here to respond to his request to speak. So based upon that, are there any other points of personal privilege? Senator from the 8th. That was close, I know. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
This is very, very short, Mr. President. Just been in my seat listening to everybody's points of personal privilege, and I just want to say real quick, I hope we don't turn Atlanta into Washington, D.C. That's all I want to say, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. All right, that's going to conclude our points of personal privileges for today. We're going to move on to the adoption of the privileged resolutions. You've got a consent calendar of those on your desk. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? Having no objection, then the adoption of the resolutions of the consent calendar is before you. Any objections? Chair hears none, and the resolutions of the consent calendar are adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw and commit? Any motions to withdraw and commit? Chair hears none. We're going to efficiently move on to letting me recognize our majority leader for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my honor to make a motion that we stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Thursday, February the 6th.
The majority leader has made a motion. If I could add a little bit of a reminder on the calendar for us, tomorrow is going to be John Bullock Day. Tomorrow, Thursday, is John Bullock Day. Now let's go back to the majority leader's motion that we stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Thursday, February 6th. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? No. It's clear. The ayes clearly have it. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Thanks. We're adjourned. Yes, sir. Oh. Secretary will now read the announcements. Sorry, I forgot that.
Mr. President, the Rules Committee will meet upon adjournment in room 450 in the Capitol. The Transportation Committee meeting has been canceled. At 1 p.m., the Public Safety Committee will meet in room 450 in the Capitol. The Agriculture and Consumer Affairs Committee meeting has been canceled. At 3 p.m., the Finance Committee will meet in Mez 1. At 4 p.m., the Health and Human Services Committee will meet in room 450 in the Capitol. That completes the order, Mr. President.